Hello everyone, and welcome to the video describing our work on trajectory optimization for physics-based reconstruction of 3D human pose from monocular video. In our work, we address the task of applying physics-based reasoning to reconstruct articulated 3D human motion from monocular video. So, for example, given a video as is shown here on the left, our approach is able to reconstruct 3D human motion and replay it in physical simulation as is shown on the right. On the left, we also show overlay of the estimated motion over the original video, which you can see is quite accurate. Our main motivation for this work is the lack of visual plausibility and presence of artifacts such as floating and foot skating in the results produced by the state-of-the-art approaches that do not employ physics-based constraints. Here you see representative results obtained with one of the state-of-the-art approaches. Note that in the example on the left, the motion of the person is visually implausible and temporally inconsistent. And in the example on the right, the person appears to be floating forward without moving the legs. In our approach, we employ fully featured physics simulation engine as part of the reconstruction process. In contrast to prior work, this allows us to reconstruct motions with complex full body contact between the person and the ground, as is shown in the examples on the left, as well as motions in more complex scenes such as person jumping on the trampoline and sitting in a chair, as is shown on the examples on the right. Here is an overview of our approach. Given the input video, we first proceed with extracting fairly standard measurements such as 2D body key points and body segmentation. We then use these measurements to reconstruct and refine initial 3D body pose and shape, as well as estimate the location of the ground plane relative to the camera. In the second step, we then use these measurements to define a loss function that measures agreement of the output of the physical simulation with the input video. We then recover physical motion by minimizing this loss function. Note that both body shape and ground plane estimated in the kinematic reconstruction step play the key role in the physics-based inference. The body shape is used to define physical body model of correct size and mass, whereas ground plane location is used by the physics simulator to estimate the contact points of the person with the ground, along with the corresponding ground reaction forces. Note that in general, it is non-trivial to estimate the location of the ground plane in a controlled real-world video. This is especially the case if we assume that any part of the person can be in contact with the ground in a particular video frame, and that the person can be in the air for some portions of the video. To address this, we introduce a robust loss function that considers all body mesh points. Our loss function adaptively selects the subset of the points to fit the ground plane, and further thresholds the distances from the mesh points to the ground with a small constant, to minimize the influence of the frames where a person is not in contact with the ground. We now proceed to the second step of our approach that implements the physics-based inference. To perform inference with physics, we introduce a physical body model that is based on GAM, which is a statistical model of human shape and pose. Similarly to GAM, our physical model supports a variety of human body types. Note that when conducting inference with the GAM model, the positions of the body joints are free variables that can be arbitrarily manipulated by the inference algorithm. In contrast, in the physics-based model, the positions of the body joints are governed by the equations of the rigid multi-body dynamics with contact, and are a function of the forces applied at the joints as well as the world geometry and initial conditions. On one hand, this can be seen as an advantage since it ensures that the movements of the body are physically plausible. On the other hand, it significantly complicates inference, since the dependency of the joint positions on torques is in general non-differentiable. Our physics-based loss function is composed of several components that measure similarity of the simulated motion to 2D and 3D kinematic measurements, as well as regularization term that encourages plausible human motion. In this work, we minimize this loss function using a sampling-based covariance matrix adaptation approach. We refer to the Diffie approach, which appears concurrently with this work at CVPR 22, that proposes to rely on differentiable physics simulation and a combination of gradient-based optimization and local search to minimize a similar loss function. Our full approach with physics is comparable or improves over related work in terms of traditional metrics that measure mean per joint error, but excels in terms of perceptual metrics such as percentage of frames with cascading artifacts. As is shown in this example, our approach is often able to correct implausible motions. Note that after inference with physics, the person is correctly propelling itself by moving the legs instead of floating through the air. To the best of our knowledge, our approach is the first to be able to apply physics-based reasoning in uncontrolled real-world scenes where it is unknown a priori which parts of the body will be in contact with the ground. We encourage the viewer to visit our project page for additional video examples. Thank you very much for your attention.